there's always one. At this time, I would like to call on this year's Yamboree President, Jordan Glaze. Give it up for Jordan Glaze, please. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you agreeing to MC this. I know you get asked to do this a lot, and you always do a phenomenal job. So let's have a round of applause for Jeff for doing such a great job. I want to first say that it has been an honor and a privilege to serve as the Yamboree President this year. I grew up in the Yamboree, and it's very near to my heart, as a lot of you know. I've always heard stories about how hard it is, and you get so many calls and emails and things like that, but I will tell you, it has been easy. And it's easy for a lot of reasons, but easy because of a lot of people. And I want to acknowledge some people that really made it easy for me. First of all, my wife has done a phenomenal job, phenomenal. And threw one heck of a president's reception the other night for those of y'all that came, you know. I want to thank my entire family. They have all done an amazing job helping us through this year and the last few days, and will continue to do so, for the next few days. Thank y'all. I want to thank Amarette Birch, who's done a phenomenal job with the Yamboree, Mimi Gordon, Gloria McLucky. I said it this morning at the bandstand when we did the ribbon cutting, but those three have done a phenomenal job, and those of the presidents that preceded me, Joel and Kyle, y'all know how bad it was to not have them, and they're a big part of why this year has been so easy handling the Yamboree this year. So thank you, ladies. The entire Yamboree board, y'all stood up a minute ago. You guys are awesome. You do anything and everything that's asked. You do it without instruction. The Yamboree for the most part is on autopilot, and I appreciate the ownership that each and every one of y'all takes for the part that you have accepted in your committees and the things that you do. So thank you. All of the other volunteers, this whole room for the most part is what makes this happen. It was interesting when Jeff called everybody out for the different groups and organizations and positions you're in. There was numerous of you that are in many different positions, and that's what makes this happen. And it is not lost on me or anyone else that is involved in this. Everyone sees it. Sometimes we get lost in the minutia of what we're doing, but there's so many of y'all that do so much that couldn't allow this Yamboree to go on without you, so thank you. I want to acknowledge one person for something that's going to be happening next year, but she's a major part of what's happening here today and puts on this all-service club luncheon and has for a number of years. But I've noticed that she's in a lot of those different categories that Jeff just had everybody stand up and be acknowledged. She's been involved in the Yamboree her entire life. And this next year will make history, and I'm very proud of this, that she will be the first female president of the Yamboree, Abby Stewart. With that said, I'm not going to waste any more time with these things, and we have a couple of other speeches that I'm anxious to listen to, but I want to present to you your queen, who's going to say a few words, Queen Carly Dean.
Well, here we are, the public speaking moment I've been dreading. Honestly, everything has been wonderful so far. If you don't know who I am, I'm Caroline Dean, or Carly Dean. I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be the 85th East Texas Yamboree Queen. Everyone has been asking, are you tired yet? Yes, we are tired, but we are having so much fun making memories with our family and friends who are all involved. There are so many of you who make all of this happen each year, and I and my family want to thank you so very much. I see now there is so much to be done, so many details but all of you pull it off each year and every year. It really has been a wonderful experience. Since I'm often, well, always short on words like my dad, I thought I might borrow the words of some of the greatest Yamboree fans we could think of to help me through this. We interviewed 4 people you might know: Miss Marianne Patterson, Miss Betty Finney, Miss Kaylin Tackett, and 7-year-old Miss Cameron Tuttle. We asked each of them similar questions, but got some unique responses I think you'll enjoy. Miss Marianne Patterson's husband, Bill, was president in 1976. Through the years, she has been involved in the civic clubs that support the Yamboree, as well as on the Yamboree board. Her favorite memory is when her daughter Elizabeth was queen in 1977. She said Mr. Don Smith was president. She said her family and friends were all involved and so supportive throughout the process, which created so many great memories. We also asked her if she had the opportunity to bring the late Queen of England to the Yamboree, where would she take her and why? She said she would take her to the pageant to see all the beauty and talent showcased there. She would also make sure she had a yam pie and went to the marching band contest, one of her favorite activities. Miss Caitlin Tackett. Caitlin was the 73rd Queen in 2010. She no longer lives here, but hasn't missed a Yamboree since moving away. Her favorite memory was when her little sister, who was her scepter bearer, didn't want to walk in the pageant. She said they tried bribing her with everything they could think of until finally she said she would do it if she could have her favorite stuffed puppy on stage with her. When she got up there and got her puppy, she was so happy. Kaylin said she watched her from her podium the whole time. It helped her keep a smile on her face. Miss Cameron Tuttle. Miss Cameron is 7 years old. She is the little sister to my boyfriend Cooper Young, and she is a cute, sassy little mess. When we asked her how many Yamborees she's been to, she said 7. She will never miss one. Her favorite part of the Yamboree is eating corn dogs. We asked her if she likes Christmas or Yamboree better. She said Christmas because it's Jesus' birthday. And finally, when asked if she wants to be queen and how much she thinks it'll cost, she said yes, $100. Miss Betty Finney. Miss Betty was married to Mr. Gordon Finney, president in 1961. And the queen was Patricia Aldridge. She said, my most favorite and most memorable memory from Yamboree was in 1991 when my granddaughter, Lakin, was just 18 months old in her first Yamboree pageant. Mary Jane Dean was queen. Now both Lakin and Mary Jane are on the board of directors with me and help with the pageant each year. We asked what was Mr. Gordon's favorite Yamboree memory. She said, when Gordon was Yamboree president in 1961, the Kilgore College Rangerettes came over to perform and be in the parade. Apparently, the head captain's baton was stolen off of the bus, and Gussie Neal Davis was so livid that she swore that the Kilgore Rangerettes would never come back to the Yamboree as long as she was in charge. Well, Gordon just thought that was hilarious. Sounds like it was quite a scandal. We asked, how do you think Mr. Gordon would describe the Yamboree to someone who has never been? It's the best yam time you'll ever have. I think each of these responses are similar to the ones we would have said ourselves. It's what makes the Yamboree so special. We all have a special place in our hearts for it. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this story and a part of history, and for your support for not only me, but all of the young women who run each year. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. That was fantastic, by the way. Well done. Did you enjoy that? That was fantastic, wasn't it? Steve Dean asked me to take his spot doing this a long time ago, but he failed to mention that it's like a 30-year contract. I'm like halfway through a 30-year ordeal, and so I've seen a lot of these over the years, and I'm going to rank that in the top 3 at least. Outstanding. Really, really well done. I can't rank it number 1 because my daughter did one, and I'd be in so much trouble when I got home. It would be terrible. But outstanding job. Thank you for that. At this time, I would like to introduce a very good, special friend of mine, Mary Jane Dean, to present the Amy Dean Scholarship. Mary Jane?
I love those stories. That was awesome. Queen Carly, I am honored to present you with a scholarship given in memory of your cousin and my sister, Amy Dean, Queen of the 50th East Texas Yamboree. The experiences that you have this week will remain in your memory forever, so just enjoy every moment.
Okay, at this time I would like to call another good friend of mine, Bethany Nolan, to introduce this year's poetry and essay winners along with their teachers and school superintendents. Please welcome Bethany Nolan.
Hi, my name is Bethany Nolan. I am so excited to serve as the chair for the Yamboree Essay and Poetry Contest. We have 3 amazing recipients, and each of them will be reading off their essay or poetry. This year's theme was What the Yamboree Is to Someone Who Has Never Attended. This is the first year we've changed the theme in a while, but we decided this would be a great elevator pitch for anyone deciding what to say about the Yamboree. We would like to thank the Coffee Wagon out of Gilmer for being our sponsor for this year's essay and poetry contest as well. There are 3 separate divisions. One is grade 4 through 5, grade 6 through 8, and grade 9 through 12. So I will call up each one by their grade level of which they won, their name, school, and teacher, and they're gonna read theirs to you. First, we have the recipient from grades 4 through 5, Jaden O'Connor in the 5th grade from Harmony ISD, and their teacher is Jackie Cox.
The Yamboree pageant is a magical place with people of all different race. Ladies and gentlemen line up for miles just for a chance for an audience to see their pretty smiles. Blue gowns, green gowns, pink gowns, and more. Tiaras, sashes, scepters galore. Young ladies stand with their handsome escorts, so wondrous, almost like a resort. But let me take you from this place that is like an arcade, and let me take you to the Yamboree parade. People of all ages stand tall and proud. As they walk by, they wave to the adoring crowd. Some people walk, some people ride on floats, and after all this, the creatives will gloat. You can hear clapping and laughter for miles and miles, so come to the parade, it will be worth your while. The baton twirlers dance with the band. The queen and her escorts on their flow stand hand in hand. Sorry to take you away from the fun, but it's time for the nighttime carnival and all the foods. Yum. Ah yes, the carnival with the rides and the fun houses, and sometimes clowns in bright polka dot blouses. Hot dogs, turkey legs, corn dogs on a stick, fried Oreos, popcorn, and funnel cake with a kick. Now come over here behind the park, although the shadows make it look dark. Just walk further and you'll get a shock, for here is all the lovely livestock. Chickens, cows, rabbits, and pigs, these animals may be very big. Now that I see you've put in a request, It's time to see all the contests. We can see who dressed their yams the most clever. We can see who is the best poet ever. Who painted the best painting the judges have ever seen, and who took the best photo of pastures luscious and green. But now I see our Yamboree adventure has come to an end. Oh well, see you next year at the Yamboree, my good friend.
Next, we have our recipient of grades 6 through 8, Cheyenne Bowen, a 6th grader from Union Hill ISD, whose sponsoring teacher is James Quall.
On January 16th, a new girl from Ohio was at my school. I asked her what her name was. She said, "My name's Hannah." She asked, "What's your favorite color?" I told her blue. From then on, we were best friends forever. October came and everybody was talking about the Yamboree. Hannah was clueless. I told her the Yamboree is a lot of cool stuff. You can get your face painted like a lion or a butterfly. You can also get a henna tattoo like a flower on your hand or an animal on your forearm. The food is truly delicious. You can get turkey legs, popcorn, and caramel apples. My personal favorite foods at the Yamboree is cotton candy and funnel cakes. The games keep you entertained for hours. They have a game where you can win goldfish and you don't even have to win the game. The balloon popping game is also very fun. You can win a big stuffed animal if you pop 3 balloons with darts. The Yamboree is known for their rides. The Genesis is where you go round and round a lot. It's pretty fun. The swings are fun. They turn round and round like 10 times before the ride's over. The rides are the most entertaining thing to do at the Yamboree. On Saturday, the Yamboree has a parade, which has queens, cars, floats, and firefighter trucks. People from other places come to the Yamboree to see the parade. The Yamboree lasts 4 days and we get to get out of school. When it all ends, I'm sad, but the Yamboree is a fun experience. So do you want to go to the Yamboree? I asked Hannah. Hannah said, "Sure, let's go together." Let's go together, and then we went.
Our final recipient is grades 9 through 12, Claudia Quiros of the 10th grade from Gilmer ISD. Her sponsoring teacher is Emily Dodd, but we have Elise Nolan from administration here in attendance with her.
The town of Gilmer lays vacant in the afternoon sunny rays. When October comes, the lights turn on and the rush hour really starts. The trucks with unknown machines spur into action while they travel away. My friends and I tried to decide which day to attend the 4-day-long festival. The roads in the town become blocked with large orange signs to keep the outside world from our fun. There is a flurry of excitement coming from children and adults alike. The park grounds are filled with small booths of trinkets that introduce a world outside of a small town. Competitions showcase talents across Gilmer, and the different animals bring in a more natural side of the fair. I take my friend's hand in mine as we shuffle through the large crowd. Vivid wristbands, glittery lights at night, and ear-splitting sounds fill my senses. I feel afraid I might get lost in the crowd, but the atmosphere is giving me deja vu. I have been here before, and I know how it feels. The warm food, the bitter and raw air around me makes me feel at home. It makes others feel at home too, even if they have never been to it before. Our night starts with the rides. The machines that were once tied down into large trucks are now placed in different spots around the square. The spurring of getting them started makes my heart pump and the adrenaline rush as I wait in the long lines. The crowds of others here are just like me, with excitement coursing through their veins. After we have hung around the rides and talked the whole night, my friends and I search for some food. The carts of comforting food we have known from our childhood, and it is so hard to choose one. My friends and I take a seat on the curb with a hamburger as we watch the night drone on and on. It's all a wonder as we wait for October to come again.
you all so much. I would like to give a personal thank you to my mother with Gilmer ISD, who always coordinates all of the judges. This is always exciting to watch them read it. If you do want to read them in person, they are on display at the Yamboree exhibit building. Thank you.
That was outstanding. Let's give these young ladies another round of applause. That was fantastic. And most of you couldn't see from out there, but I could see their notes here. And this is going to sound random, but they have incredible penmanship. You should see that their handwriting. Mine's terrible, and so theirs looks like font. I mean, it was so good. That's one of the things I noticed. And also, the young lady from Union Hill, we have something in common. She said she met a new friend just by simply asking, "What's your favorite color?" And that's how Jordan and I became friends. I was like, "Jordan, what's your favorite color?" And he said, "Pink." And I said, "Well, that's weird, but let's be friends." And that's how it happened. That's how it happened. So it's funny. I thought I was the only one. So now we have a special treat for you. We have our guest speaker, who is not a stranger to many of you in the room, and certainly not a stranger to Gilmer, Texas, and Upshur County. Gilmer native Sally Green now lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where she served on the Orange County Board of Commissioners since 2018. Prior to that, she served for 13 years in the Chapel Hill Town Council. In those positions, she's led the community forward in such areas as affordable housing, support for homeless people, improvements to the criminal justice system, access to the arts, and rural access to high-speed broadband. While engaged in public service, she's also worked as a lawyer and an independent scholar. Sally is the daughter of the late Sarah and Ray Green. Her grandparents, Georgia and Russell Lassinger, were among the founders of the Yamboree. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big Yamboree welcome to our speaker, Sally Green.
Thank you, Jeff, and wow, I wish you could see what I see. This is such a beautiful, heartwarming crowd. Thank you. Congratulations to Queen Carly, Princess Addie, and all of the court of 2022. You are all accomplished, beautiful women. You have so much ahead of you. I wish you lifetimes of joy, purpose, and wonder in this amazing world of ours. To my sisters, Queen Laura, and all the rest of you from the court of 1972, Lisa, Sandra, Ann, Debbie. It's so fine to see you all and to see you all looking so fine. It seems like what? It seems like maybe, what does it seem like? Day before yesterday that we were going across that stage in our jewel tone gowns and our big Texas hair. Mayor Tim Marshall, thank you for being here. Glad to see you, all folks from the city. And to Steve Dean, our Yamboree president, 1972. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for extending the invitation to me to be with you today. It is a great honor. As for me, I was a Yamboree baby. That's right, give it up for my birthday. My birthday was yesterday, October 19th. And October 19th was a Wednesday in 1955, too, which made it the day before. It's gonna do that? Well, okay. It was Wednesday the 19th. Wednesday was the 19th in 1955 as well, which made it the day before the Yamboree, which of course was 3 days back then. But despite that lucky start, I grew up under a shadow, or so I thought. Remember that old rhyme? Monday's child is full of grace, Tuesday's child is fair of face, Wednesday's child is what? Full of woe. Wednesday's child is full of woe. As my birthdays rolled along, I got more curious about this because I came to realize it wasn't just chance. I learned that my birth was a planned cesarean. Dr. Madison Ragland saw to that after Sarah Green's sad experience. My mother's first child was stillborn. My mother's body just did not want to cooperate. She went 4 weeks past her due date, and by then the amniotic sac had dried up. Of course, that wouldn't happen today. Tragic experiences like that taught that you just can't wait that long. So the next time, a cesarean it would be. But here's the thing. A cesarean can be planned within a certain window. Given a choice, why choose Wednesday? Wednesday's child is full of woe. My first birthday, without my mother, 6 years ago, again fell on a Wednesday, and again it was Yamboree Wednesday. This time I thought harder about it, and I had a great epiphany. And friends, isn't this just the way it is? You lose your mother, and you gain perspective. Suddenly, I started to see things from her point of view. Well, of course, it was a business decision. Tuesday would have been bad because that's the deadline for the paper. The Gilmer Mirror was, and still is, printed early on Wednesday mornings, and it was put to bed, as we said, late on Tuesday nights. That was my father's job. So Tuesday would be bad for him. Thursday would be bad too, but with the Yamboree starting up, the pageant that night, which my grandmother, Sarah Lashinger, would need to write up, and my father would be out all day reporting and taking pictures. Okay then, Wednesday it had to be. It was a business decision. The business of the Mirror and the business of the Yamboree were yoked from the beginning. So now let's shift gears a bit. I thought it could be worth our time here to dig into that history, to take us back to Yamboree Year 1. Travel with me in the Mirror archives and we'll find delicious little nuggets of sweet potato goodness. We can do this easily because of a fantastic new way to explore the Mirror archives. At the University of North Texas, mirrors back as early as 1904 are being digitized and put online as part of the Texas Digital Newspaper Program. This is a great thing, and it was made possible by a grant that came to fruition last year. Friends of the Upshur County Library secured the funding, and with my Aunt Mary Kirby, also known as Queen Yam the 21st, I was proud to play a part in making that happen. I'm sure you know that the occasion for the Yamboree was the lifting of the quarantine that had been imposed because of the nasty potato weevil. This is Gilmer History 101. By summer 1935, with the help of a good county agent and cooperative farmers, victory was declared. That county agent proposed to the Chamber of Commerce that some kind of celebration was in order. John Brigatti, the Chamber Secretary, said, "That's a great idea. Let's make it an annual festival." And by the way, I understand that Mr. Brigatti's great-great-great niece, Elle Woods, is a Duchess from Longview ISD, so that's wonderful. A couple of public relations men from Dallas came out to help draw up an action plan. Remembering that something called the Boy Scout Jamboree was being planned for Washington, D.C., one of these PR guys said, "How about Yamboree?" Perfect. That was madman genius there. From the beginning, and this is obvious, our Yamboree fathers and mothers thought big. And they were tapping into the spirit of the age. Regional festivals celebrating local products were happening. The Tyler Rose Festival was a couple years old already. There was a tomato festival down in Jacksonville. The same year in Farmersville in Collin County, they were planning a festival to celebrate their sweet onion, complete with the crowning of Queen Noino, however you pronounce it, it's onion spelled backwards. You can't make it up. If Jacksonville can do tomatoes and Farmersville can do onions, well, we can make hay out of our yams. What you may not realize is what a moonshot of an idea it was to pitch Upshur County as the capital of sweet potato production. And I mean, their hopes were nothing short of being the top producer in the nation, if not the world. And by the way, some histories have it that the Yamboree was sparked into existence by the energy that was already gathering around the Texas Centennial of 1936. But I don't really think so. I think it would have happened anyway. The model they seemed to be most looking to was the Tomato Festival. That and the Onion Extravaganza were two examples of these small town events that were already popping up to celebrate the newfound market strength of their cash crop. These opportunities for selling crops at scale were jump-started by two important developments in the early 20th century: the expansion of the railroad network and new technologies in storage and warehousing. Sweet potato production depended very much on technical innovation. The potatoes scar easily during harvest, and they need a little time to ripen off the vine. By 1925, farmers had figured out that if you store them at a temperature of 85 to 95 degrees with a relative humidity of between 85 and 90% for 10 days or so, you'll end up with sweet potatoes with attractive skins that are just right for eating. As some of you will know, and this is the advanced or AP course in Gilmer history, that's the curing process. Once they are cured, they have a longer shelf life. That means you don't have to dump them on the market all at once. You can bide your time, wait for the price you want. Upshur County farmers had been growing sweet potatoes right along. So by 1935, when the quarantine was lifted, everything was ready to go, including 4 curing plants with easy access to the railroad. Everyone stood to benefit from boosting the sweet potato. The farmers primarily, but also the local businesses that depended on their trade, and so on. The sweet potato was a force multiplier. Now, think about the world in 1935. Hitler had taken control of Germany unchecked by any power. The Nuremberg laws legalized the systematic persecution of the Jews. And just an aside here, if you want to know more about the perilous situation in Europe at this historical moment, I recommend Ken Burns' latest documentary, The U.S. and the Holocaust. And of course, by 1935, the United States was sunk into a deep depression. Millions of families had lost their livelihoods. And there was polio. That Boy Scout Jamboree that was being planned, it was postponed for 2 years because of polio. Polio survivor FDR and his New Deal administration all kinds of programs in motion to help. But people were hurting. Everything was changing and ill winds were blowing. And yet, in Upshur County, some things were changing for the better. 5 years earlier, in October 1930, Dad Joyner's Gusher opened up in Rusk County, and with the discovery of the East Texas oil field, a new Wild West began in the race for East Texas crude. Upshur County wasn't seeing much of this activity except around Gladewater, but in 1935, hopes were still high for test wells in greater Upshur County, and there was plenty of prosperity to go around, even at the margins. The East Texas oil field was a force multiplier. So, in the summer of 1935, it was time to throw down a marker. From the beginning, it was recognized, and Mirror editors Georgia and Russell Lashinger were perhaps the first to recognize that the project was largely a marketing campaign. They had both worked in Dallas in advertising. That's how they met. There was, in fact, a 40, and it's 40 county area of East Texas where the sweet potato thrived. In any given year, Upshur County might or might not have been a top producer. And while Texas did lead the nation in sweet potato production for 1927, it never would do so again. But in 1935, nobody knew that. The moonshot was still possible. Mark Twain said, "Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions," and our folks got the message. The Yamboree was one grand ambition powered by a dream. Part of the way the Mirror whipped up enthusiasm was in its breathless reporting of all the planning meetings. I mean, every idea tossed out there was mentioned in a story, even outlandish ideas like starting off with bombs and a flyover from Barksdale. And no, that did not happen. The basic elements have changed very little. A queen would be selected with a full court of princesses, and so on. There would be contests for the best yams, an ag and livestock show, a marching band contest, and a yam pie contest. It was important that there be an outstanding football game. Outstanding meant posing a worthy match for Coach Henry McClellan's powerhouse Buckeyes. That meant Plano, as it turned out, and, spoiler alert, the Buckeyes won in a shutout, 12-0. That was an afternoon game in a time before Friday night lights. There were no lights at all yet at McClellan Field. Local businessmen were quick to underwrite the cost of the Yamboree, and their bets paid off. It more than broke even. Gilmer is particularly fortunate in having a group of merchants that are forward-thinking and progressive enough to provide stores and theaters that would be a credit to a much larger town, wrote the Mirror editor in a special edition published for Yamboree Week. This special issue went out to 5,500 homes here in East Texas and practically every state in the Union. The editor bragged, it was, without a doubt, the most widely circulated Mirror ever attempted. By mid-October, crates of yams had been sent to notables statewide, including the Commissioner of Agriculture, editors of food pages in major papers, and newspaper columnists. A Tyler food editor agreed to be one of the judges of the yam pie contest. This was 25-year-old Sarah McClendon, who went on to a long career as a White House press reporter covering 8 presidents. The State House passed a resolution supporting the Yamboree. Yams were sent to the governor's mansion, which the First Lady generously acknowledged. And Governor Allred declared the week of October 13th through 19th Yam Week in Texas. The Cotton Belt, the Missouri Pacific, and other passenger lines featured Yamboree yams on their menu. On the radio, the light crust doughboys spent most of a whole show singing the Yamboree's praises. Asked if they were going to the Yamboree, each one said, I am. The leaflet, that orange leaflet at your place, is a replica of one printed by the Mirror for the Chamber. 2,500 of them were given to local businessmen to distribute. And many thanks to Suzanne Patterson of the Mirror for cleaning up a scratchy old image and getting these printed. And thanks, of course, to Mirror publisher Russ Green, my brother, for continuing to promote the Yamboree. Among the most successful marketing gimmicks were the 2 booster trips that took place in the weeks before. These were ragtag affairs led by Cranville Cox Jr., and the legacy of his showmanship lived on in the booster trips of later years and in the chitlin switch parts of the parade that my generation certainly enjoyed. The first one started in Pittsburgh and ended in Big Sandy. It was 18 cars. By 1940, the number of cars in the booster trips would more than triple that. This first one set the pattern and the pattern. It was led by Mr. Cox's sound truck. We have to imagine what it sounded like, but at any rate, it was the same in every town. They circled the business district, then they tumbled out of their cars, and Mr. Cox's MC led a song and dance show in which the many benefits of the golden tuber were touted, or claimed, or guessed at. For example, how many yams would it take to make a bottle of beer? 4 was the answer. Then came the Yamboree itself. This first one was a 2-day event. At Friday's All-Service Club Luncheon, and this history is given in your program, the speaker was Frank Holland of Holland's Magazine out of Dallas, and on the menu were sweet potatoes prepared 4 different ways. Now I've got to say, I think the Tex-Mex is an improvement from that. There was a dance that night with Harry Walker and his 12-piece Negro band. Based in the Mississippi Delta region, they attracted some of the best blues artists out there. They played A-list venues from North Carolina to Texas, and how great it must have sounded. For those of you with long memories, Jimmy Fleetwood was the dance chairman. Go, Mr. Fleetwood. As for the yam pie contest, the judges found that the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome could not compare with the pie baked by Miss Inez Atkinson of Betty. The Queen's Parade was set for Saturday, to be followed by a tea with all the visiting duchesses that would be in the pageant that night. The pageant would be the grand finale, a gala affair in the Trinity Street Gym, same place it would be forever until the Civic Center was built. It would be followed by a Queen's Ball, where a different 12-piece orchestra would play until all hours of the morning. The parade was a triumph, with one critical lesson learned. As it got started, 3 floats, including the Queen's float, were left out. The Queen's float missed the boat. Nevertheless, Queen Jane Evelyn of the House of Tuttle made a dazzling and on-time appearance that night at her coronation. Now, in the 30s, there was a vogue for historical pageants, large casts acting out big, compelling stories. In that vein, the central drama of the Yamboree pageant was the enactment of the potato weevil and its banishment. We are presented with, quoting the Mirror, a field of yams growing in excellent condition as represented by 10 golden costumed little dancing girls, a like number of black-frocked little boys representing weevils who cast a spell over them. But then the yams are saved for posterity by Yama Yama, who brings in white-clothed good spirits who rout the weevils and resuscitate the yams. Yama Yama, the goddess of the yam, was played by Miss Mary Jo Cox, later Mary Jo Shepherd, and we have her son Ben Shepherd with us today. Take a bow, Ben, wherever you are. Jane Tuttle was from Union Grove. The Queen could be from anywhere in the county. There had been an idea during the planning stage that the Queen would choose a king for herself. Now, and if the Queen was from out in the county, she would choose a man from Gilmer, and vice versa. But when it came down to it, there was no king. The Yam Queen has never had a king consort, and that seems like a loss, or perhaps a missed opportunity. Maybe in the future, this could happen. Now, let's lean into the pageant, because there's an underappreciated story here. The idea of having a queen was baked in from the beginning. And remember, that wasn't all that original. There was already a rose queen, a tomato queen, queens were a dime a dozen. But that first set of Yamboree directors, good men that they were, well, they were men. For the details of the Queen's contest and the pageant, they turned to the women. And they looked specifically, I'm looking at you in the front here, they looked specifically to the 20th Century Club. The story I'm about to share is the deep history of the Queen's race and pageant. Let's call it the genealogy behind every satin gown and rhinestone tiara that has ever graced the Yamboree stage. In fact, when you look at it this way, you could almost say that the Yamboree pageant, at least, is closer to 100 years old than 85. In the 1920s, for several years running, the 20th Century Club had put on an elaborate production in the Trinity Street Gym, a style show and pageant for the Queen of Fashion. These were fundraisers for their civic projects. The Queen's contest was open to any young lady in the county, and it was partly ticket sales, partly a popularity contest. You could buy pageant tickets from the girls or put cash for your favorite candidate in voting boxes placed outside all of the drugstores. A ticket counted 10 votes, and each penny in the cash box was 1 vote. Now follow me here, because this seems trivial what I'm talking about, pennies and cash boxes, but hold that thought. What was in it for the winner was a beautiful ensemble, her coronation gown, slippers, purse, all donated by local merchants. The 1928 contest came down to a close race between Irene Mings, a high school senior, and Alice Mayberry, a teacher at the Ward School. To gin up interest in the race, the Mirror published the new totals every day. The lead kept shifting back and forth. It was like a horse race. And now, get this, on the last day, all the money from the ticket sales had to be turned in by 4 o'clock, but the cash boxes didn't close until 7. Totals were updated on the hour, by the hour, 4, 5, 6, and 7 o'clock on a bulletin board outside the Mirror office. So that cash could just keep coming in. Miss Alice of the House of Mayberry, by all accounts, was a delightful queen of fashion. Her dress was straight from New York City. It was, as the Mirror reporter gushed, truly a work of art, fashioned of the finest lace and taffeta and made in the most approved spring style. It is in every way suitable to a queen's coronation robe. Gilmer's own orchestra, which apparently only lasted for a brief time, provided the music. The stage was set with a bountiful Japanese garden with hundreds of flowers made by Warwick School children, accentuated by colored lights that played across the stage, courtesy Crystal Theater. There were duchesses and dancers, and it was all followed by a full-on fashion show featuring styles from local department stores. Then in 1934, they outdid themselves again. This time, the fundraiser was a Mayfest, same format, except that the pageant took place on a grandstand set up in McClellan Field. Once again, the winner would be given her entire coronation wardrobe and more. This time, dry cleaning credit was included. There were 4 dry cleaners in Gilmer. And once again, the object was to sell tickets and gain penny votes at the cash boxes at the drugstores, and the tally was published daily. And again, the ticket sales closed at 4, with the cash boxes open until 7. The winner, the Queen of May, was Maddie Ruth of the House of Strop, who, as Maddie Ruth Williams, will become the mother of the first sibling Yam queens, Donna and Nancy Williams. And apparently she did choose a king. That lucky fellow was Ross Gunn, later to be father of Amy and Judy Gunn. All of these 20th Century Club productions were every bit as elaborate as the first Yamboree pageant. Which is to say that when the women got to work on the Yam Queens race and pageant, they knew what to do. Crazy to think about, but yes, the contest scores were announced daily in the Mirror, and the penny boxes were counted last, and this led to a great drama. Between 4 and 7 p.m. on the last day, with the new totals announced hourly, Jane Tuttle managed to overcome a $90 deficit with $100 in coins, bringing her grand total to $341. Georgia Lashinger, who had to count the money, said never again to the cash boxes. Continuing in the pageant tradition, her coronation dress, shoes, the whole 9 yards was a gift to her. Somehow I think that's not the case anymore, right, Carly? Definitely no dry cleaning. The 1936 Centennial Yamboree was even bigger, and Yamborees continued right up to World War II, with the Victory Yamborees of 1941 and 1942 amplifying Churchill's call for victory at all costs. In October 1941, you could find a whole crop of Yama Yama girls in short skirts and tank tops posing in a field with sweet potatoes piled into the shape of a V to be sent to the Allied forces. And of course, after the war, the festival came roaring back. In 1972, our year, we even officially became folklore as we took yam pies and Spot Baird and Dick Potter's possumology to the Texas Folklife Festival, a tradition that continued for quite a few years. And here I want to point out that when you have a chance, when this is over, you can walk over and get a better look at these 2 slides over here of the victory. My husband calls that Yams and Gams, the Yama Yama girls. I believe that, pretty sure that's Elaine McLean Kimbrough's mother, Queen Janice Graves, in one of the pictures. And then that's Laura and Lisa and me and Ann in the other. So, born as a creative response to a changing time, the Yamboree distinguished itself with its continuity. Like the Rose Festival, it survived the war. Many festivals did not, or they died of natural causes. The Yamboree just got better, evolving into a great reunion. And this would be especially gratifying to an earlier Gilmer Mirror editor. My great-grandfather, George Tucker, who died in 1934, had hoped for just such a thing. Writing in 1924 about an earlier Mayfest, then being put on as a school fundraiser, which, go figure, also involved a Queen's race with ticket sales and drugstore penny boxes, George Tucker said this: "There are some towns in Texas that make the Mayfair an annual event, giving a celebration lasting 2 or 3 days. These celebrations grow from year to year, being enlarged by experience, and in some instances result in permanent grounds and exhibits. Gilmer is one of the oldest towns in Texas, and there are perhaps more former residents living elsewhere than there are residents of the town. Suppose we should make it an occasion that would draw them all back to the old hometown once a year. What a pleasure it would be. It would become an event looked forward to by thousands annually and bring thousands of visitors here, and the visitors would add much to the circulating medium of the town. The Yamboree is that grand reunion." Now, as time passed, that elusive sweet potato crown slipped out of reach. What an irony, now that I've spent more than half my life living in North Carolina, to know that in 1971, the year before my Yamboree, North Carolina took the lead in U.S. sweet potato production, and it has held that lead for, these 50 years. Texas does not even rank. I'm sorry. This became a bit of a sticking point between my Texas chauvinist mother and my Tar Heel husband. No, Paul would remind her, Texas isn't the sweet potato capital, and while we're at it, y'all play ball with the wrong shaped ball and you make barbecue out of the wrong animal. But, the Yamboree was always built upon a dream, and one thing we know about dreams is that dreams are shapeshifters. The Yamboree is our homecoming. The Yamboree is a great celebration that has become its own reason for being. And so this is an interesting transition that I'd like to reflect upon. The original goal of expanding the sweet potato market was a strategy for growing the incomes of local farmers and businessmen. It was the kind of collective self-interest that we call economic development. There's nothing wrong with that. But think about what the 20th Century Club had been doing with all those penny box fundraisers. They were raising money for projects that gave meaning to something beyond themselves, beyond the single self, and even beyond their lifetimes. Whether it was something seemingly small, like landscaping the courthouse grounds, or really big, like starting a county library, and we still have them to thank for the library, they were investing in the community and its future with no expectation of individual gain. Now they are joined by the 6 other clubs that field a Yam Queen candidate. All of these are volunteer organizations with a mission of service to others. I mean, here we are at the All-Service Club Luncheon. We should note, though, that the first All-Service Club Luncheon was open only to the men's clubs, Rotary, Kiwanis, and Lions. Members of those clubs from all over East Texas were invited, but the 20th Century Club? No ma'am, this was a businessman's affair. And we should note that Black Upshur County was shut out or kept on the sidelines for decades. But the Yamboree is a big tent now. Very soon, and Jordan pointed this out, and I'll point it out again with congratulations, Abby Stewart will be the first woman president of the Yamboree. So, with this in mind, I ask us all to conceive of the Yamboree Association as more than just the association that puts on the Yamboree. I'd like us to really see it as an organization that extends the community service mission of all these service clubs, all these people who give so much to the Yamboree each year. This is already the case in a number of ways. The Yamboree scholarships invest generously in the next generation, and let's especially appreciate the Dean family for the Amy Dean Memorial Queen Scholarship. And really, the sheer number of Yamboree activities that are offered now, from the Tater Trot to the No Limits Livestock Show to the new Floral Cup, all of this would boggle the minds of the founders. They would be delighted to see in how many ways people of all ages and stations of life can participate. I invite us to celebrate and support the Yamboree as a service organization devoted to making its community a better place. So let's wrap up now by returning to October 1935. The first Yamboree is in the books, while Georgia and Russell continue to turn out the Gilmer Mirror day after day, every day except Sunday. Georgia has a regular column called Circling the Square. This is nothing more than harmless gossip and amusing tidbits she picks up around the courthouse square while she makes the rounds selling advertising. On October 23rd, she writes, "Everyone seems to be enjoying the peace, quiet, and relaxation since the Yamboree." I suspect many of you know that feeling. You're looking forward, as I am, to the next 2.5 days. But admit it, you've got an eye out for Sunday morning, for the peace and quiet of that morning when everything you've worked on for months is finally done and the streets of the square, amazingly, are empty again, vanished like a dream for another year. I love to think of my grandmother circling the square. I feel her spirit circulating among us here and now. And 50 years after we of the Court of 72 glittered across the stage, I thank God and Dr. Madison that I'm circling the sun with you on this astonishing planet, that I'm back home in Gilmer sharing this wonderful homecoming. This has been a real pleasure, y'all, and we'll see you at the Yamboree.
Thank you, Sally. We're so glad to have you back home. And we look around the room, and I think you know most everybody here probably. So, or if they don't know you, they know you now. So thank you for bringing that great history lesson. I learned a lot. Did you learn a lot, Jeremy? Yeah. You didn't learn anything? No? Okay. So, well, we taped it. We're gonna have you listen to it again. So you just you stay in your chair here in a minute. We're gonna do it again till you get it down, boy. All right, well, folks, your diets begin on Monday. Okay, Monday, that's diet day. But from here to there, man, let it fly. Okay, go get a corn dog, funnel cake. I've already got a good start on it. All right, last night. Y'all enjoy the Yamboree. You're now dismissed. Thank you for attending. Thank you. Let it fly.